Good evening, everyone. Hi. I'm Carolyn Briggs, professor of English at Marshalltown Community College. Happy National Poetry Month. I know by now you're probably exhausted from all of the poetry events you've been attending, all those family gatherings where everyone shares his or her favorite poem, and you and your uncle get into a fight about who's the better poet, Byron or Wordsworth. I know that happens. We all get a little burned out during National Poetry Month. We're exhausted from the poetry readings, the food and the drink, the all-you-can-eat read, poetry buffets, stuffing our face with sonnets and villanelles. That didn't happen? An English teacher can dream. It's possible this is your first poetry event all month. It's hard to believe. But if you're going to celebrate poetry one night, tonight was a good night to do it here in Desjardins Hall. You're going to hear some really wonderful poems, some well-loved poems, maybe some original poetry. You might find a new favorite poem or poet. You'll hear poetry being read by law enforcement officers and a retired minister. You'll hear poetry from my bosses and my students. You'll hear poetry from children and their moms. You'll hear poetry from a basketball coach. Sharing this stage with retired people, people just starting out, high school students, a social justice worker, an HVAC technician, and a first grader. My MCC students will be on stage. They're from Senegal and the Netherlands, and Catalonia, Serbia, and England, and they'll be reading poems in their first language, and you'll find the translation on the back of your program. As always, I want to thank Bob Untied, director of Orpheum, which I hear is going to be open in 10 more days, and we'll have you, right? Our next poetry event will be there, but he's a great collaborator with me for these poetry events. So thank you to my students and all the other MCC students who are here. Thank you to my wonderful colleagues, the people behind the scenes, like PJ, getting this place whipped into shape, and my husband, who always does really cool things with programs and PowerPoints. We're different, all of us, everybody in this room. The poetry is going to reflect that. But this community, this Central Iowa community, is going to find ourselves living in the United State of poetry. So, as our retiring and much respected boss, Chris Dury, always says, onward. We can do this. We can come together. Tonight, these poems will remind us of our shared humanity. Thank you for coming.
I don't really know if I'm supposed to introduce myself, but hello, my name is Olivia Adams Zmolek, and I will be reciting Undivided Attention by Taylor Molly. A grand piano wrapped in quilted pads by movers, tied up with canvas straps, like classical music's birthday gift to the criminally insane, is gently nudged, without its legs, out an 8th floor window on 62nd Street. It dangles in April air from the neck of the mover's crane, Chopin shiny black lacquer squares and dirty white crisscross patterns, hanging, like the second to last note of a concerto, played on the edge of the seat, the edge of tears, the edge of 8 stories up going over. It's a piano being pushed out of a window and lowered down onto a flatbed truck. And I'm trying to teach math in the building across the street. Who can teach when there are such lessons to be learned? All the greatest common factors are delivered by long-necked cranes and flatbed trucks, or come through everything, even air. Like snow. See, snow falls for the first time every year, and every year my students rush to the window as if snow were more interesting than math. which of course it is. So please, let me teach like a Steinway spinning slowly in April air, so almost falling, so hinderingly dangling from the neck of the mover's crane, so on the edge of losing everything. Let me teach like the first snow, falling. Thank you.
Do you see the resemblance? I'm going to read a poem written by Jean Seberg, a Marshalltown native that most might be familiar with her acting, her social activism, her sense of fashion. She was also an accomplished writer, and this poem that I'm going to read, written by her in the mid-'70s, is included in the Museum of Arts and Manuscripts, Letters and Manuscripts in Paris. It's titled, How Do I Tell You? How do I tell you, other than when I see you, I am enveloped in a warm, steaming bay? How do I tell you that making love with you is like a hot cup of coffee? How do I tell you I am not living without you? I have nothing without you. I cannot see. How do I tell you that love is serious, that I am serious? How do I tell you I am eaten by life and by the gods, and that nothing but your warm touch saves me? Thank you.
I'm Mark Smith, and I'm going to be reading Maya Angelou's On the Pulse of the Morning. In 1961, when President Kennedy was sworn in, for the first time a poet read a poem at the inauguration. That did not occur again until President Clinton was inaugurated in 1993. And this is an amazing poem, I think, from someone who lost their voice for a good number of years. A rock, a river, a tree, host to species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur who left dried tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today the rock cries out to us clearly, forcefully. Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny, and I will give you no hiding place. But seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down there. You, created a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long, face down in ignorance. Your mouth spilling words, armed for slaughter. The rock cries out today, you may stand on me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. Come rest here by my side, each of you a bordered country, delicate and strangely made proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege. Your arm struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave me when I and the tree and the stone were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew, you knew nothing. The river sings and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, and the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the Shiite, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear. They all hear the speaking of the tree. Today, the first and last of every tree speaks to humankind. Come to me here beside the river. Plant yourself beside me here beside the river. Each of you, descendants of some passed on traveler, has been paid for. You who gave me my first name, you, Pawnee, Apache, and Seneca. You, Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Swede, the German, the Scot. You, the Ashanti, the Aruba, and the crew, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on a nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, root yourself beside me. I am the tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree. I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, and if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palm of your hands. Mold it into the shape of your most private needs. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change here on the pulse of this fine day. You may have the courage to look up and out upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country. No less to Midas than to the Medicate, no less to you now than to the Mastodon then. Here on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lotte van Malsen and I'm from the Netherlands. I play for the women basketball team and the translation will be on the other paper because I'm gonna read in my native language. Hoopvol. Vele mensen hebben alle hoop reeds opgegeven, omdat ze te weinig of te veel hebben gekregen. Verlangen blijft toch altijd in ons aanwezig. Het wakkert elke mens aan en houdt ons bezig. Vele wegen liggen voor de mensheid open. Je koos je weg, die heb jij dan ook gelopen. Wees blij voor alle kansen die je hebt gekregen. Je liep al eens in de zon en dan weer in de regen. Voor elke weg die je zelf ooit koos, wees daar niet verlegen om en ook niet boos. Je bent blijven kiezen voor het leven. Soms eens te onstuimig, daarna weinig gedreven. Wat je nodig hebt, het wordt je gegeven. Alles maar wat goed is voor dit leven. Jij bent de grootste wonder in de natuur. Met een lichaam vol levenskracht en vuur. Geloof in je toekomst, in jezelf en in je zijn. Dan pas is je leven groot en niet meer klein. Dank je.
Can you reach? It's okay, neither can Mommy.
I love you, a bustle and a pack. Do-la-la-la-la-la, do-la-la-la-la-la, do-la-la-la-la-la.
I love you, a bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck, a hug around the neck, and a barrel and a heap, a barrel and a heap, and I'm talking in my sleep about you. I love you, a bushel and a peck. A bushel and a peck, though you make my heart a wreck. You make my heart a wreck. You make my heart a wreck and a mess of happiness. A mess of happiness about you.
Last year I shared my grandfather's favorite poem, and this year I'm sharing my grandmother's favorite poem. And my grandma had 2 sons, which when you know that makes this a little more meaningful. In my mind's eye, I had pictured just what my life would be. In a cottage small with a hollyhock wall where friends would drop in for tea. My silver would shine, my damask be fine, and a fire would glow on the grates. Then after quick chats about this and that, I'd walk with my guests to the gate. Yes, in my mind's eye was a picture I've never since seen, for really my life is full of diapers and dolls, and a sandbox where grass might have been. I wash clothes daily, iron them too, scrub floors on bended knee. It's mix a formula, mend a sock, then it's time for luncheon for 3. Oh, for that peaceful life I had pictured that existed so charming and gay. But thank goodness it never did happen, for frankly, I love it this way.
Hello everyone, my name is Goran Vidovic and I'm coming from Serbia. I am a student athlete here in MCC and I'll tell you a poem by Duško Radović named Terrible Line. I'll tell you in my native language, so just flip the paper. Bio jedan lav, kakav lav, strašan lav, narogušen I ljut sav. Ne pitajte šta je jeo, taj je jeo šta je hteo, tramvaj ceo I oblaka jedan deo. Išao je na 3 noge, gledao je na 3 oka, slušao je na 3 uva. Zubi oštri, pogled zao, on za milost nije znao. Dok ga brana jednog dana nije gumom izbrisao. Thank you.
An old favorite. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. 'Tis some visitor, I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors, never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, 'tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or madam, truly, your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortals ever dared dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, something louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mine of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my said fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what the lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on that placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he muttered. Not a flutter then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. Thus I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press on nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent me, by these angels he hath sent thee. Respite, respite and nepenthes from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthes, and forget this lost Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door, quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flirting, never still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws the shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Thank you.
Tonight I'll be reading If You Could See by Chief Michael Cloutier. If you could see what I have seen, maybe you'd understand. It takes a special kind of person who opts to make a stand. If you could see what I have seen, you'd have a ringside seat to life. It's not always full of sugar and roses, often there is strife. If you could see what I've seen, the holidays aren't always merry. We labor day in and day out, always protect your family. If you could see what I've seen, you'd understand the cost that consumes a loving mother when her 2-year-old is lost. If you could see what I've seen, you'd understand their pain when you tell his parents in the middle of the night that his death was not in vain. If you could see what I've seen, you'd understand the grief. The entire family suffers from what he injects underneath. If you could see what I've seen, you'd opt to go in, because you know that someone is trapped from within. If you could see what I've seen, you know a family's care, reading that last message on her cell phone, knowing she's not there. If you could see what I've seen, you'd recognize it in her eyes. When that child speaks, you're the only one not surprised. If you could see what I've seen, you'd chase him near and far, for what he did to that little boy left a huge emotional scar. If you could see what I've seen, you'd understand the truth. Media paints a picture that is erroneous and uncouth. If you could see what I've seen, you might choose other work, because you'd feel that this one takes much more than it's worth. If you could see what I've seen, you'd experience the uncertainty while my family waits to hear from me, knowing it's often dirty. If you could see what I've seen, you'd help lead the way, hoping to ensure that everyone goes home that day. If you could see what I've seen, you'd know there are miracles all around, and realize your daily sacrifice helps communities abound. If you could see what I've seen, you'd understand His will. When a 9-year-old loses his father, the impact is forever still. If you could see what I've seen, the stories are all true, but the scars are not always visible, not even to you. If you could see what I've seen, you'd understand what I do. It's not in vain. The reason is simple. I do it all for you.
Tonight I'm reading Maya Angelou's Still I Rise. She's one of my literary heroes, so I feel privileged to speak her words. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
We'll be reading Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star by James Dean.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky.
When the blazing sun is gone, when he nothing shines upon, then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle, all the night.
Then the traveler in the dark thanks you for your tiny spark. He could not see which way to go if you did not twinkle so.
In the dark blue sky you keep, and often through my curtains peep, for you never shut your eye till the sun is in the sky.
As your bright and tiny spark lights the traveler in the dark. Though I know not what you are, twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
How I wonder what you are.
Hi, my name is Zyrus Whitehead. I'm a senior in high school, and this poem was written after a mentor of mine was telling my friend and I how we'd have trouble controlling the stage because of our height. So this is on confidence. I am 5 feet and 2 inches tall, but in my head, I am 5 feet and 8 inches tall. I am small, but not in my head. I am short, but have the confidence of a tall man who just won his football game or something. I don't know why tall men are so confident. I have no balance, but in my head, I walk in high heels everywhere I go. Stilettos, not wedges. I walk like a business person who just made a big sale and is on their way to buy a brand new car. I know nothing about cars, but why would that stop me? People look down to me to talk to me, but not in my head. They look up, like they're looking at a hot air balloon that is decorated with colors they've never imagined and patterns so intricate they cannot comprehend. In my head, I have no acne, and I do not tap my foot when I'm nervous, and I am not nervous. And in my head, I can sing, but really I can't, but I do. And I don't apologize, and people don't ask me to stop. I rarely wear makeup, but in my head, I have painted my lips bright red, and my eyelids lay under blankets of gold, and my cheeks are roses. So watch, here I come, 5'2" but 5'8" in my old blue tennis shoes, walking as if in stilettos, in imaginary lipstick, and I am approaching the microphone, my short, tall frame carrying myself like Michael Scott, but I am smarter than he. And I sing, but I cannot sing, and people treat me like I can, and shame is not in my vocabulary. I speak. Loudly, but not shouting, no, but my voice resonates. It sticks, and people think about my words and my stilettos and my lack of nervousness, and they look up. And I smile like a kindergarten teacher on the first day of school, and the kids come into class, and they see my smile, and they smile back because kindergarten is such a good year. I smile. And people smile back. I stand and I laugh as if I'm a person who's funny and I understand humor, but I'm not funny. No, really, I swear to God, I've never properly delivered a joke in my life, but people laugh at me, no, with me. People laugh with me. People laugh with me. And I am tall. Or at least I can pretend. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeannine, and that is Gabriel, who frequently will listen to my poetry. I've always read poetry to my dogs. This is called The Revenant by Billy Collins. I am the dog you put to sleep, as you like to call the needle of oblivion. Come back to tell you this simple thing. I have never liked you, not one bit. When I licked your face, I thought of biting off your nose. And when I watched you toweling yourself dry, I wanted to leave it unman you with a snap. I resented the way you moved, your lack of animal grace, The way you would sit in a chair to eat, a napkin on your lap, knife in your hand. I would have run away, but I was too weak. A trick you taught me while I was learning to sit and heal. And the greatest of all insults, shake hands without a hand. I admit the sight of a leash would excite me, but only because it meant I was about to smell things that you had never touched. You do not want to believe this, but I have no reason to lie. I hated the car, the rubber toys, disliked your friends, and worse, your relatives. The jingling of my dog tags drove me mad. You always scratched me in the wrong place, and all I ever wanted from you was food and fresh water in my metal bowls. While I slept, I watched you breathe as the moon rose in the sky. It took all my strength not to raise my head and howl. Now I am free of the collar, the yellow raincoat, the monogram sweater, the absurdity of your lawn, and that is all you need to know about this place except what you already supposed and are glad it didn't happen sooner, that everyone here can read and write, the dogs in poetry, the cats and all other in prose. And I just want to say, my dog does not feel that way at all. I have one more poem. We have a poetry group that meets, this is my commercial, the fourth Thursday of every month. And a young man that did go to Marshalltown Community College came, and he read this original poem. It's by Dolphus Coleman, and it's called Crayons. We live together, all in one box, different in every way. Pick any one, and we're not the same. Go by a whole different name. We live together, all in one box. When we work alone, we are dull and plain. But put us together, and we can paint the world. And as I look out here, I think Marshalltown is a beautiful box of crayons, and we are painting a beautiful picture. Thank you.
My name is Sekou Kromar. I will be reading Love Philosophy by Percy Shelley. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with a sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single. All things by a law divine. In one spirit meet and mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. And the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth if thou kiss not me? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Tupper, and it's my honor and pleasure to serve you as your police chief. Now, when I became a police officer almost 27 years ago, nobody ever told me I would be up here reading poetry. And this is the third or fourth year in a row that I've done this now, so something must be going well, so I appreciate the opportunity. But when I got into law enforcement, I was scared to death of public speaking, so this is one of the more frightening things that I've ever done, quite frankly. So my poem is entitled Please, and it's one of my wife's favorite poems, Sarah. And the rowdy kids in the back are my fault, so I apologize for that. So please, stay in this world with me. There go the ships, the little buses, the sanctity, the subway, but let us stay. Every world has pain. I knew it when I brought you to this one. It's true, the rain has never stopped by the children's parade. Still, I tell you, it weakens you after a while into love. The plastic cow, the plastic barn, the fat yellow pencil, the smell of paste. Oh, I knew it wasn't perfect all along. Its tears and gravities, its spaces and caves, as I know it again today, crossing the street, your hand in mine, heads bowed in the driving rain. Please. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Roger. I'm from Spain, and I'll be reading a poem in my native language, which is not Spanish. It is Catalan, which is a nation inside Spain, and we have our own language and our own history. Ara mateix, de res no ens val l'enyor o la complanta, ni el toc de disciplina en melanconia, que ens posem per jersei o per corbata quan sortim al carrer. Tenim apenes el que tenim i prou, l'espai d'història concreta que ens pertoca, i un minúscul territori per viure-la. Posem-nos dempeus altra vegada i que se senti la veu de tots solemnement i clara. Cridem qui som i que tothom ho escolti. I en acabat, que cadascú es vesteixi com bonament li plagui i via fora, que tot està per fer i tot és possible. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brynjarsson. Let me begin by explaining this picture first. The poem that I'm going to read is written by my uncle back in Iceland. He put a book out here about 2 years ago. He's a pastor there. Probably one of the coolest pastors you could ever find. There's not very many pastors that can say they were in a punk band when they were younger. But he also has written children's cartoon deals, plays, and different things that on our Netflix in Iceland are actually very popular. He's also written some different educational things for Sunday school. So very talented guy, but this picture was taken back in 1991 at a family reunion, probably about 2 months before I came over here, and so that was about 27 years ago. So, but let me tell you, also on top of that, I know it's poetry, but being so out of my element right now, I haven't been nervous speaking in front of people since college. So since I've actually resigned from basketball and MCC might have to get a new basketball coach, I think Caroline Briggs is a pretty good recruiter. Because I got to tell you, to talk me into this, I'm not so sure how she did it. So anyways, here we go. The poem is called, and I'm going to read this in Icelandic. The poem is called Djúpt á yfirborðinu. Djúpt á yfirborðinu, speglast þú. Ylur sólarinnar, fimbulda kuldi heimskautana. Harkan í hrauninu og myktin í mosanum. En hvað ef maður skaðbrenndur af heift. Botnfrosin af fælæti, harður af hróka og mjúkur af missindi. Thank you.
El tiempo es vacilón by Francisco H. Alarcón, and it's in both Spanish and English. Durante juegos y recreos, el tiempo corre muy veloz como liebre, pero en horas de clase nos parece tan lento como una tortuga. Time is very tricky. For recesses and games, time races at full speed, like a hare. But during class hours, time slows to the pace of a tortoise.
Okay, it's very hard to follow that. Okay, my name is Pele, and my poem is Desiderata. And Desiderata means, this is what I want in my life. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy. Thank you.
Ho ni gana dib ashitana dishes na ganwami soon. I'm going to be reading my own work tonight. Gooseberries pierced palms. Deciduous trees walk westward so slowly. Feathery roots trailing, fingering the ground, grasping at dust. Shadow people operated in muddy floods of chemicals and cut my ovary in an act of genocide. Sips of rose root tea, meshinebisun for my throat, isolation for the vomiting, nusig for the whole of me. A pressure on my shoulders and back of my neck from the eyes of surrounding woods. Alone. Never alone. Scraping thud as mother pushed me to the ground, ready to do away with me for the third time, or was it the seventh? White cloud reached down a billowy arm to brush away gravel embedded in hands and knees. Nukumis was my playground, warm, sparkle-eyed jungle gym, brown supermodel, role model with wrinkled skin, turned ancestor goddess who visited my deathbed and who will greet me on the other side. G'debi.
Hello everyone, my name is Basiru Enja. I'm from Senegal, West Africa. I'm going to read the poem in my own language. Demain dès l'aube à l'heure où blanchit la campagne, je partirai. Vois-tu, je sais que tu m'entends. J'irai par la forêt, j'irai par la montagne. Je ne puis demeurer loin de toi plus longtemps. Je marcherai les yeux fixés sur mes pensées, sans rien voir au dehors, sans entendre aucun bruit. Seul, inconnu, le dos courbé, les mains croisées, triste, et le jour pour moi sera comme la nuit. Je ne regardais ni l'or du soir qui tombe, ni les voiles au loin descendant vers la fleur. Et quand je partirai, je mettrai sur ta tombe un bouquet d'eau vert et de bruyères en fleurs. Thank you.
Good evening, fellow students, distinguished guests. A few words of inspiration for my fellow classmates as we prepare for finals and for the graduating seniors. My poem I'm going to recite tonight is titled, "It Couldn't Be Done," by Edgar Albert Guest. It couldn't be done. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried, he hid it. He started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it." But he took off his coat, and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to tell you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and do it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Chris DeRee, and I've had the honor and privilege of serving as the chancellor of the college now for the past several years. But really what I want to do before I read what I'm going to read is recognize the one and only Carolyn Briggs, who has made this happen tonight. What a great event. Carolyn is just one of those people that I say she's just cool. You agree with that? Yes. Absolutely. So I told Carolyn when she asked me to do this that I'd take a little bit of an unconventional approach in that I'm going to take some song lyrics, and as I told her, I listen to a lot of music, and for me, song lyrics are really just poems that are put to music. This particular song, which I'll read in the form of a poem, which is really where it started, meant a lot to me at a time that I think we all go through, very challenging. You know, you kind of hit some depths and you learn a lot about yourself, you learn a lot about other people. And so this is actually an older song. It's performed by and written by a band that some of you may recognize, Rascal Flatts. And name of the song and the name of the poem is I'm Moving On. I've dealt with my ghosts, and I've faced all my demons, finally content with a past I regret. I've found you find strength in your moments of weakness, but for once, I'm at peace with myself. I've been burdened with blame, trapped in the past for too long. I'm moving on. I've lived in this place, and I know all the faces. Each one is different, but they're all the same. They mean me no harm, but it's time to face it. They'll never allow me to change. But I never dreamed that home would end up where I don't belong. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. At last I can see that life has been patiently waiting for me, and I know there's no guarantees, but I'm not alone. There comes a time in everyone's life when all you can see are the years passing by, and I've made up my mind that those days are gone. I sold what I could, packed what I couldn't, stopped to fill up on my way out of town. I've loved like I should, but at times I've lived like I shouldn't. I had to lose everything to find out, and maybe forgiveness will find me somewhere down the road. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Thank you.
That's it. Guys, thank you so much. Readers, you couldn't have been better. You were brilliant. And audience, you're the best. Thank you.